Hi guys, this is Mr. Chamberlain. I've sort of lost my voice, so I'm going to be recording what we're doing today, so I don't have to say it 4 times. I've opened up to Google Classroom. You can see we have our lab that we did yesterday. If I open it up, uh, we did this yesterday. We looked at why we have seasons. We set up and we recorded this information. If you don't have this information, or at the very least your starting and your ending numbers, come see me. The temperature changes this difference between the two numbers. You're going to use all of the information from here that you gathered to do the only lab report of the year. The lab report is 53B. There's several parts to it. I'm just going to talk you through it really quickly so that you'll have what you need to get half of it done today. I opened up all three of these. So the rubric I have first, it's 20 points. It's performance grade, so it's something that is almost like a small test. You've done a lab report before in 7th grade if you were here. There's all these different parts to it. Some of them are worth just a little bit because they're very easy to do. Some of them are worth a whole lot more because they require more time. Um, so the other two tabs I've opened are these two. This is sort of the guiding thing that shows you how to do the lab report. And the other one, called Write Your Lab Here, is where I'd like you to actually put it in and create it. Now you can do this with the person that you did your lab with or yourself. You can't do it with a random person, but if you'd like to do it, share some of the same work with your lab partner, that's fine with me. Um, on here, you see we got the different parts of a lab. Like I said, if you were here in 7th grade with Miss Minowitz or Miss Olson, this should start to look familiar. I'm going to just talk you really briefly through each part, what has to be there, what it should look like, and then I'm going to let you have the rest of the hour to do most of it. Okay, so the first part of our lab report is the title. That's really easy. It's just what you decide to call the lab. So when you're putting this lab report together, you should literally um, give a name to each part, the title for it, and then underline it. So in this case, you can call it whatever you think is appropriate. Maybe you want to call it like the Seasons Lab or figuring out why we have Seasons Lab. It's up to you. But like I said, that's really easy. That's why it's only 1 point. The purpose of the lab, you might want to look back at your actual lab that you did, because the question we were trying to answer, the purpose of the lab, was to know um, about the things that are needed for the earth to have different seasons. So when you're writing your purpose, you should literally write purpose, underline it like this, and then you could choose to write it right from what your lab was, but it looks like we already got it right here. What are the two factors needed for Earth to have different seasons? So the rest of these are pretty straightforward too. You'll put in your hypothesis, which was your guess, um, which was this part, assuming you already did it. I can go right in there. Um, the procedure is the first thing that's worth a lot. This is worth 4 times as much as what we'd ever done. The procedure is literally how you did the lab, and it should be written in such a way that if someone was gone when we did the lab, they would know how to do it. So my rule is it's got to be numbered like this, be in complete sentences, and say what you did in the lab. Now, you don't have to go word for word from your thing because this has a lot of words in it. You can totally summarize it as long as someone who was reading it would understand how to do the lab. So maybe you might say that the first step of your procedure was my partner and I got all of the materials and set up the globe with the lamp next to it for the sun. Um, you might say it looked like the picture in the diagram, meaning it looked like this. You do that until at the very end, it'd be the very last part. So you would probably talk about how you set up the probe, how you recorded, how long you recorded, what you looked for, and how you changed it. So if you do it in any less, I would say any less than 5 steps would probably be too few steps. And if you're using complete sentences, it probably had a lot in there. Okay, afterwards, your data or your results is just the information that you got from doing the lab. That would be this part. So you could copy and paste this in if you wanted, or you could re-record it. Your analysis are the questions that I have you answer to help figure out the lab. That would be the part that was down here. This is in the actual lab. If you go down to the bottom, if you want, you don't have to actually write down the questions. You only have to write down the answers. So it says, how does temperature change for summer compared to the temperature change for winter? So when you're actually doing your analysis, after you've done your the rest of it, you don't have to actually write the answers by blah 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 blah. You don't have to worry about writing out the questions, just the answers. The conclusion is the part that we're going to do tomorrow, and I've got up to 3 points included for the correct grammar and mechanics, meaning you don't get 3 points, you could just lose up to 3 points. But if you use capitals and periods and complete sentences, you should be fine. So today, all we're going to focus on is trying to pound out the title all the way through the analysis. Don't bother doing the conclusion. We'll work on that later. If you have questions, of course, I will help you. Okay, good luck.